The multi-platinum selling artist behind 80s band Ultravox, co-creator of Live Aid, Band Aid and Live 8 with Bob Geldolf, has announced a new UK tour. Midge Ure promises to revisit some of his best-known hits when he performs in the capital later this year. Classics like this 1985 chart topper. None other than Midge Ure, of course, with If I Was There. I'm very pleased to say the man himself joins London Live News this evening. Is that one of the classics we can expect to see you performing in London?
I think so. I think there are certain songs that if you didn't perform, you'd be hung, drawn and quartered. So that has to be one of them, of course.
But it's not just the very well-known of your songs that you'll be performing as part of this tour, is it?
No, I've come up with this idea of going back and revisiting something. I'm going to play something from every album that I've been associated with since 1978. So from the Rich Kids through Visage, through Ultravox, through the solo stuff, right up to my last album, Fragile. So I'm looking at doing a real interesting cross-section, I hope.
3 decades, more than 3 decades in this industry, and still going strong. What's the secret to continuing that creativity and continuing to perform?
I think enjoying it. You know, as long as you are capable of still doing it and you still love it, because I never underestimate an audience. An audience can tell if you're walking through something, you know, if you're just pacing it out. So I absolutely still love doing what I do, and live performance is what I started doing long before I was allowed to make a record.
It's been a year that's seen many of your contemporaries, the sorts of artists that you'd have been performing with and alongside in the 80s, Prince, I'm thinking of David Bowie, sadly pass away. What impact does that have on your creativity, on your music? Does it in any way make you feel that you want to continue writing and releasing new music?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both the artists you just mentioned there, I mean, 2 global, you know, incredibly talented people working right up to the end. You know, Prince was still touring and performing. David Bowie was still recording and writing. You know, why wouldn't you do that? We've been given a gift to create this. Why would you stop and just say, I'm going to put my feet up and retire now? It's a joy to go out and do this stuff. So, yeah, it's been a very strange year so far.
And Bowie, of course, an artist that you met a number of times and collaborated with to present.
We asked David to come along, Bob and I, when we presented the Band Aid video for the first time on television, and David happened to be in London, and we kind of blagged him and made him go on 5 minutes before Top of the Pops and present this for us, which he very gratefully did.
What sort of a man was he?
Lovely, amazing sense of humour, which is maybe what you not think of initially when you think of David Bowie, but yeah, hideously talented, but just lovely. We sat round having dinner with him when we asked him to do this for us, and we all instantly turned into like school kids listening to a great master. Just a joy to be in his company.
And talking of your involvement with him, with Band Aid, more than 30 years, 32 years since Today Know It's Christmas was released. How significant is it for you that all these years on, that the issues that led to that single coming out are still as prevalent as they ever were? Oh,
I think that's I think it's an impossible task, you know, to rectify something that's basically global warming. You know, Africa will never be resolved to the extent that we'd all like to see it resolved. You're fighting nature. You know, the rains don't come, the crops fail, causes a famine. Right now, the difference is that there are trigger points in place, and there are alarm bells that go off that stop it from turning into what it turned into in 1984. You've had an incredible career and a very diverse, vast one. How much is that track one that you're happy to be your signature, perhaps? You know what, I think, as I said, it's a joy doing this. You know, when people ask me about highlights in my career, I don't mention the things that they'd normally expect you to mention. I mention things that happen behind closed doors. You know, personal highs, you know, personal moments, you know, doing a duet with Kate Bush or playing guitar with Eric Clapton. As a musician, and that's all I think I am, I'm a musician, they're the highlights to me.
As a musician, you've been critical in the past of some of the up-and-coming contemporary artists. I say up-and-coming, the likes of Beyonce, obviously making headlines all over the place. Why aren't you a huge fan of artists like Beyonce?
No, don't get me wrong. I mean, Beyonce's an incredible artist. I don't like the idea that a lot of the songs these days are written by committee. They're written by 20 people sitting in a room all throwing up the odd word in. A bit like, you know, if Botticelli was, you know, not Botticelli, and you had 20 people trying to paint a Botticelli, they're doing it by numbers. It's just the emotion doesn't seem to be there. It seems to be incredibly contrived. Whereas when I started buying music, started listening to music, I loved artists because I wanted to hear what they had to say as an artist.
Talking of which, you'll be performing in London later this year. Tell us when and where and what we've got to look forward to.
Well, I'm doing my own thing in Union Chapel in Islington in December, which will be the Something from Everything tour. And I was due to be playing in 2 weeks' time at Shepherd's Bush Empire with the Rich Kids, my old band from the 70s. But unfortunately, the place has been renovated and won't open in time. So the date has now been moved, and the venue has been moved to the 23rd of June, and that's going to be in Islington Academy.